Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Good morning, how is everybody doing? If the snappy music and the graphics at the beginning of the video didn't clue you in, this week we are going to be working on the Strange New Worlds shuttle. This is not an official kit, I will tell you that right away. This is a garage kit. This is a 3D printed kit. I cannot tell you how to get one of these because I do not know. I saw a good friend of mine, Randy Cooper's, posting on Facebook. I messaged him and I said, Randy, how did you get that? He gave me the address of the person that he got it from. I quickly messaged that person, said, do you have any more? He said, yes. And some swap of currency later, I have this. Now, I don't know if he's still making them. I don't know how accurate this is. I will tell you, without fear of being contradicted, that as of today, and we are in August of 2022, this is the single best and most accurate version of this model of this subject known to man. That's because it's the only one that I'm aware of. It's a beauty. It's a beauty of a 3D print, and this body is all shell is all one piece. So I think it behooves me to go ahead and tell you what my marching orders are for this kit, for this model. It's not really a kit. I can't call it a kit because it's a kit in the respect that it takes pieces to put together to make it, but it's not a kit in that it's a commercially available thing. So, but I'm going to tell you my marching orders. I am not going to be opening this up. I am not going to be putting an interior into it. I am going to try to light the nacelles. I'm going to try to put a light of a sort inside the cockpit. I am going to close over these windows from the inside so that there's like a glow of an interior. But that's the level of my involvement. I am going to try to paint the stripe down the side because even that is not set in stone. I'm going off of the references of the couple of episodes of Strange New Worlds Season 1 that this showed up in. That's where I'm going to be getting my inspiration. I am not going to go all out on this kit because, like I said, it's a garage kit. I'm sure, I know in my heart of hearts that the fine people around too have got this on their drawing table. They've got it. They've got to be planning some version of this for the future. So I'm going to let the professionals do the actual model kit. I am going to make the best out of this shell without getting hyper-focused on making it, be all end all accurate, because when that commercial kit comes out, I can guarantee you I will be making many of those. But for right now, this is where I'm at. Like I said, I have a very short list of things I want to do. Want to light up the nacelles, want to put a light in the center. I cannot light these. Much as I would like to, I cannot light these because it is way thick. The way that this is printed, that's a good half inch to 5/8 of an inch thickness of resin here, and to drill all of those out would be madness. I'm not going to do it. Not for this kit, not no way, not no how. I'm going to try to make the ramp here articulated because that's how I will get into the battery and the switch to turn the lights on. I was thinking I was going to be out of luck when it came to lighting the nacelles because there's no way into the body from the nacelles, but there's this nice little channel here that if I can drill a hole there and there, I can run my wires to the inside and get away with it that way. But see, you can see all the way into it looking through the back gate into the front windows. I'm going to be gluing the doors in place and closed. I will put windows in them, but I'm not going to, like I said, not going to try to make an interior. So the first thing to do is to buff this up a little bit. It's got the resin marks on it from being printed. So we're going to buff it up a little bit, get a coat of primer on it, and see what we're dealing with. Alrighty, the shuttle has had its first coating of the filler primer. I'm sorry, the primer sealer, not the filler, the primer sealer. And while it's true that 3D printing, particularly in the resin field, has come a long way in just the last couple of years, don't let it make you think that there's no sanding required. Just not so much. The build lines are evident, and unfortunately that is the 3D equivalent to flash or pour stubs, in that you will notice that you still see build lines, and of course the job here is to minimize them, and you will see the little chicken pox marks of acne, what I call 3D printer acne. And that's not something you can stress too much over. It's something to take care of. You could use a thinned down putty if it's really bad. I find that most of the time just a light sanding and then maybe a coat of the primer filler will take care of them if they're not too bad. If they are too bad, then you have to get more aggressive and actually fill them in with a putty or a Bondo to get rid of them, or decide if they're really bothering you that much. Most of the time, if the person doing the printing was smart about it, they are on the non-visible or less visible or non-visible sides of the project, and you can get away with, like on this bottom plate, there's some pock marks there. I'm not even going to bother trying to fill, because 99% of the time it's going to be sitting like this. You're never going to pick it up and look at the bottom. If you pick it up and look at the bottom, you deserve to see the ugly stuff. But that's a good place to start. I am looking at the obvious faces of this thing and seeing where it might need. I'm using a very, very high grit, like in the thousands, grit sandpaper here, just to knock a little bit of the primer sealer off. And I am seeing some build lines, and that is going to matter, because I'm going to be finishing this with metallics. Look more like metal plating, less like the painted shuttle of the original series, but still with a eye towards making this bottom side darker than this top side, maybe two different metallics, maybe even a little bit of pigment mixed in with the metallic to make this a lighter version. I am of a mind to still stick the old-fashioned Galileo name right there and maybe put a number back here. Again, checking references is going to be the important thing on that, just to see if any ground has been broken already in that respect. Certainly don't want to go against what's already been done, but I do feel that this subject is open to a little bit of artistic license. These tubes are something that, it's one of those things that just because you can print the whole thing, does that mean you should print the whole thing in one piece, or could you have, like, these easily could have been printed separately and then attached? Yes, you're showing off your fancy printer by being able to print the whole thing in one piece, but remember, it's a model, not a statue. It's a model, and you should be able to put the parts together. That's my unreasonable request, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, we had mail call today, which is always fun, and in the mail call today we have the object that I teased last week. This is the Igor that is going to go with the Stan Arts Frankenstein lab. I know I'm shifting gears a little bit, but we're waiting for the primer to dry over there, so there's not much I can do right now. But whenever there's a new kit that comes in the mail, the first thing I do is I get the parts out and I start fondling them. And I have to tell you, this is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. Only because, well, it's perfect because it looks very, very much like Marty Feldman, but it's also 1/6 scale, so the scale is dead on as far as the fitting in on the lab. I'm not wild about the pose, only because it's such a beautiful sculpt that by the time you put it all together, he's kind of, well, he's hunched over because he's got a hunch. But the pose is perfectly fitting for the character. It just, it's a shame to hide all that wonderful glory. So the body looks like this, the head, but you want to see the face. Look at that face. That is absolutely wonderful. Now, my question is this going to clash with the Frankenstein, with the Frederick Frankenstein that I've got to go with it because of the, is it stylistically going to match? Well, the Frederick's face is a little softer, I won't lie to you. I can paint some detail in there, but it's a lot softer than that. But I think that they will go together nicely. And look, I mean, you can see by, let me see, size of the hands here. I mean, his is kind of a soft sculpt on the 3D, and the resin is much more detailed. But I think that they will I think that they will go together nicely. Now, while you hear the printer printing in the background, is I am printing out a couple, three Frederick heads, just the heads. I lopped them off at the neck, and I'm printing just the head because I want to see if I can get rid of all of this hair. This is very clearly, I mean, it's closer to Willy Wonka hair. It's a big afro-ish thing, and I'm not wild about it. In the movie, he clearly had a side part, so I'm going to see if I can use the head that's printing and sand down all the hair, and see if I can either resculpt the hair that's on there, or with epoxy sculpt, or do something with fiber fill or whatever. That's really, next week or 2 weeks from now's project, but I'm getting an early jump on it. I think what I'd like to do is clean up these parts while I'm waiting for that to dry, and just start gluing them down. I mean, the posture on his legs is wonderful. It's just that we're going to lose a lot, I think, by the fact that it's going to sit something like that, which is, how Igor looked in the film. But we're losing a lot of detail because of the stooped over nature. So let's do some cleanup and some gluing. I'm not saying this is an awkward pose. I guess I am. But if the king and queen of awkward poses were to have a child, it would be this kit. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful kit. I dearly wish it had been it's in character. This is perfectly done. But, good Lord, you lose all of the wonderfulness of that sculpt by the fact that his face is just down in the dirt instead of, up where you can see it. That's a beautiful sculpt. But, yeah, it needs to get pinned together and pinned down to a base. Maybe I could shine a light up on him from the floor. I think that's about the only way I could get away with it. I had thought about replacing this with an actual tea light, but I don't think that would help. I think shining a light on him from somewhere else would do a better job. It's just that this would take, well, it's not a lost cause. I could rebuild something like that and run a thin wire up his arm to the power source. But that's just lovely. Thanks again, sir, for sending this to me. This will go in a wonderful spot. Oh, and I think I found a use for this. I think I'm going to use this base for the Frankenstein's monster that I just finished. I like the fact that there's a chain on the floor, and it does give me just a nice little finished base to stand that creature on, because Igor here is going to go in the lab itself, so I won't be needing the base that it comes with. They always said if you want to get ahead in this business, make your own. This is the last thing, I swear, and then I'll get back to the Shuttlecraft. But I went ahead and lopped the head off of Frederick here and printed up some samples. These are the same size as the finished one that I have. They are the same size. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to practice not only face painting, but also grinding all the hair down and doing some resculpting on the hair. Morning, we're getting ready to go back to work on the Shuttlecraft today, but one last thing I wanted to clear up off of the counter, off of the tabletop, and that is this little piece of base. This was the base that the Igor figure came with that I won't be using for Igor because he's going in the Stanarts lab. This, I actually, when I was painting it, I found a name, and the name is right around the edge here, and I want to read it carefully. It is Sean Sansom as the last name. It looks like S-E-A. Well, maybe that's S-E-A-D. If you can see it there. I should have looked at that more carefully before I put paint all over it. Sean, S-E-A-N, Sansom. And it looks like it has a 97, possibly a 93 date on it as to when it was made. So that's where the and you could look for it under Igor, probably look for it under Abby Normal as the name of the sculpture if you're looking to see if it's still available. I have no clue. But there you go. So I'm going to take this out and put it with the Frankenstein, the Mobius Frankenstein that I made last week. That's what I'm going to use this for. And we are finally going to pull the shuttle back onto the center table. Now, I have primed it from yesterday. I put a coat of the primer sealer on it. I also put a coat of the primer filler on it. I might want to run out and get another can of primer filler because I am out. But it is looking very clean today. So I think we're getting ready to maybe run some lighting. Okay, so I am starting to ponder lighting, and it occurred to me very quickly that I am slam out of 9-volt batteries. I used the last one in the last build that I made, so I don't, in the Frankenstein lab, so I need to go get some 9-volt batteries. So while I'm out running around my morning's errands, that's something to pick up. I am seeing how much lighting things are going to need. These are the nacelle caps, the front nacelle caps, the Bussard collectors, whatever you want to call them. It's that tradition of shuttlecraft engines looking like small versions of the main Starship engines, even though that might not be physically possible for them to function the same way. But we're going to take it as such. So these are Bussard collectors. The problem with it is this part is so elegantly designed that it actually is like making a ship in a bottle because the neck is smaller than the area in here. So I need to devise a way, and I think I can do it with a bit of styrene tubing, that I can put a bulb in a tube and cut it and put it in there, and it'll light block at the same time. Okay, I've got a piece of 3/8 styrene tubing. That fits in there just perfectly. So now if I take, and again I'm having to, let me see if I can find my, yeah, here we go. I'll find my little clamp because I don't have a 9-volt battery. So we clamp the bulb in it like this to show you, and this is that is a nano-sized red. But now we've got something that I can light block here and push up into the front of the Bussard collector. I wonder if I couple that with an orange, whether that would give me a better light. Let's see. I think I've got an orange. Yeah, I had pulled out an orange chip size bulb. Hold the phone 1 second. If we add that, add both of these together. Does that give me a more balanced light? Or is the red simply going to overpower it? I think the red's going to overpower it. Okay, here is the orange and the red. I don't know how well the difference is showing up on camera, but there is a difference. The orange one is over here and the red one is right there. So if we took them, yeah, I like the red gives me the brightness, the orange gives me the color. I like that. So that's what we're going to do for the front of each nacelle. The engines back here are white, but like I said yesterday, I can't cut into those. The holes in the back of the nacelles are red. I could make those white, but I think I want to make those red instead. And those will look like that. That'll be fine. We can use that same tube if we want to do some light blocking. That disperses it a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to use that. And then we're going to save white lighting for the interior. And that was successful. That's always good. It's a good start to the day. I took some of the tubing, wrapped some of the aluminum tape around it. Had to make sure to only make it one wrap and not double on itself, and I still had to end up sanding this inside out a bit because the rod or the tubing fit perfectly. Once I put the tape on it, it became a little too fat for it, so I had to sand that out just a hair. But now I've got effective light blocking on the inside up to the front of the dome, which is the important thing. I don't have to work as hard. I'm still going to paint the outside of this, but I don't have to work as hard to get that properly light blocked, and it'll still fit at the front of each nacelle. So make up a couple more of those. The next big thing to do is to drill holes. I found this nice bit of channeling here that I'm going to use. I don't know how accurate it is. I don't care because it's underneath. But what it's going to allow me to do is cut a hole right there, and a hole right there. Is actually, looks like there might already be a bit of a hole there. Drill those out. Chase my wires from the nacelles. Chase my wires from the nacelles into the bottom there. Okay, this is kind of what I got thinking for the inside of the front windows. It's basically a piece of frosted plastic that I am going to try to glue in behind the front windows, and when you put, it won't be red, but once you put a diffused lighting behind it, it looks kind of like that. I think that's kind of what I've got in mind for the inside. Okay, I've hit my first quandary. I've hit my first stumbling block, my first whatever you want to call it. Now, I've said this, and I've made no secret of saying this. This kit will be, this subject will be released someday in an actual kit. More than likely from round 2. I'm not clairvoyant. I cannot give you a day and date, but I know that it's going to happen. As much as I can trust that God made little green apples, I can almost guarantee you that this is going to be a commercial kit. And when that glorious day comes, I will be at liberty, as will you, to go all out and just light it, make it sing and dance, and do as many things, probably have an interior, make it do as many things as possible. But for right now, this is what we've got. So I am trying to figure out where to stop when it comes to the lighting. Obviously, I can light the front. I can light the back. I can light the inside windows. I can, if I wanted to, see, this is where we start getting into the weeds here. I can put the navigation lights that go here, and there's one that goes right about there, although it's not marked out on this model. Right about there. There'll be red on this side and green on this side. It'll be about there and about there. I could put those in. Now there's a series of landing lights here that I'm not going to bother with, A, because this is way too thick to try to cut through, but B, because it's going to be sitting down most of the time. I could put these headlights in. That's an obvious one. Those are just plain old whites. That would be easy enough to do. But between the time we get the interiors and the nacelles, do we really want to add more lighting? That's where I'm at. I think I'm going to put 2, and everything that's going to be worked on is going to be worked on like a ship in a bottle, because it's going to have to come through this back door, which means when I put the lights and switches in, or the batteries and switches in, they're going to have to come through this door. It's perfectly acceptable to put this door on a hinge, which I'm going to do, and maybe put a magnet at the top to hold it closed so that I can open it up and maybe hit a switch here that will turn a battery. I'm thinking if I want to do 2 circuits in here, I can do one battery that would run strip lighting, and that strip lighting would light the interior. Put that on one battery all by itself, and then I could put another battery in here because we've got scads of room, and I could put the all of the SM LEDs on the second circuit, and that way we won't get that voltage problem that we get when we try to combine those 2 different types of lights on the same circuit. So if I did that, then it would be green down here, orange and red on both nacelles, red over here. I've got enough bulbs for all of that. I've got enough strip lighting to do the inside for that. I could probably put the 2 headlights in, but beyond that I don't know what more to add to it. I think because it's not going to have an interior, it's not going to have a lot of bells and whistles on it otherwise, that maybe just by putting those small bits of lighting in, then that will compensate for the lack of a whiz-bang interior. Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday. It's already hump day. It's the middle of the week. It's the shank of the week. And we are, now that I've done the hard work, as I say the hard work, now that I've done the brain work yesterday of figuring out what bulbs I'm going to use where, today I just need to get down to the actual putting them in. And then I still need to run out and get some batteries. I don't have any. I have doubtless made this a lot more difficult for myself than I needed to, but when is that? What's new about that? When has that ever stopped me before? I have got the little plugs that I've made for the rear of the nacelles, and those are ready to go on both of these. And the front plugs I've also got done, and that's a combination of an orange and a red LED that I can push varying degrees. I want to try to see what is giving me the best light and push it in just that far. But what unfortunately has happened is, even though this is a length of a wire, it is not quite long enough. I need to be able to have a little bit longer wire on here so that I can fish it down the back of the nacelle and pull this in place, and then still be able to join up my LED wiring. I need to put one in here just yet that's going to be green, and then that'll come out the back and it'll join with this and join with the front wire, and then I can solder them all up, run the wiring into the body of the shuttle and back out so that I can work on that. And then I shove everything in from the ends, and all is happy and good, and children join hands and sing. So, and then I got to do it again on the other side. So, pray with me now as we offer up the appropriate amount of sacrifices to get this done without losing one's mind in the process. This is what happens when I don't. Yeah, I want to take a break from wiring models every week, because this kind of nonsense will hurt a man. Okay, this is what I need to have enough slack to come out the back just to do. Oh, I made a rhyme. I didn't mean to. Just enough slack to come out the back jack. Cut some of this off. Again, this is the 28 gauge twisted wire from Evans. I do need to make an order to Evans because I did run out of a couple SM LED colors and sizes. So I do need to make up a shopping list. But this is going to join to that. And then I'm going to need another length of that to go back in and come out and join up with the headlights. So we're going to do that. And yeah, okay, another length of it about like that. Okay, tell me how you feel. I have got the green navs. I've got a orange Bassard collector. I've got a red nacelle caps on both of those. I've got both of the red navs on that side, orange up front, and I've got, I'm trying to move the camera as slowly as possible, and I've got headlights. So everything is wired up that's going to be on this first circuit. And this first circuit has appeal. So yes, it is the First Circuit Court of Appeals. Let's close up. I don't know why I get this urge to tidy up every time the camera starts running. It's like, I've got company, I better clean. So we've got this going on. Happy with all of that. This is what will be attached to the first 9-volt battery on a switch. And all of these wires get pushed into the back door there. And then the second set of wires, or second set, is going to be much simpler. It's going to be a U shape of cool LEDs that are going to go inside there to... I'm going to try. I'll see whether warm LEDs might be a better answer. I don't know. I think cool LEDs. Most of the lighting on the inside of the shuttle, at least on the set, is cool strip fluorescent or strip LED. So I think we're going to maybe make those cool. But it's strange. No matter how much light blocking I put in here, it's still, the whole piece glows. And that's the nature of it being all one cast piece of clear. Okay, we are half done. I've got a battery, I've got a switch, and I can do all of this all the livelong day. So I just need to start working on the next circuit, which will be the interior lighting. But there you go. And the headlights as well. So lovely. Let's pack all this stuff in and start working on the other one. I got to come up with some sort of, excuse me, some sort of little panel to mount these switches to. I'm sincerely beginning to think that Randy Cooper had the right idea when he cut the roof off of his. This is worse than trying to build a ship in a bottle. What I've done is I've put a strip of LEDs on the roof, pointing down. And that's going to give me enough adequate lighting for the entire cabin. I think if I were to hold a battery up against that, you would see that lights up nicely, the whole interior. Now I'm trying to put these windows in from the outside, from the inside, and I have to get in there and suck them back towards the frame, and it is slow going. It is not fun. I'm trying to think of a way that I can, frankly, that I can do this, because none of these openings are big enough for my big sausage fingers to fit inside. I thought I could do the whole bank of front windows at one time. Ha ha ha, silly me. That's not going to work. So I cut them individually, and I think I can do the side ones and then do the I don't know how I'm going to do that last one, because I'm going to have to reach in around here from the back with my fingers and through the door to make it fit. Not giving up hope yet. We'll figure this out. Well, I found a good place to stop today. I've got all the lights in. Yay! I've got all the switches in. Yay! All the batteries in. Yay! What I don't have is any way to position the switches. I need a little access plate here, and then I'll attach those to it. But that's really got two switches hanging out the back, and then I got to figure a way to put some magnets on the ramp to hold it in place. Maybe a piece of foil at the bottom to act as a hinge. But we've got the two circuits. This is the circuit that does the nacelles and the navs. And this is the circuit that does the interior lighting. And we'll flip this around so you can see it from the other way. Might be easier to move the camera. Okay, camera's moved. Now we can turn the main lights on. I think it's a reasonable solution for the short amount of time that I'm going to have to live with this before the actual kit comes out. Like I say, I'm sure it's in the works, so I'm not going to get too head up over putting every last detail in this. Now, I noticed there are some light leaks around the doors, and that's obvious. That's hard, that's tough to mitigate because these are separate parts and they were meant to come out. So I'm just going to glue them in place and then maybe put a little spot putty around that to hold to take care of the light leaks. I am noticing some spots in the printing where it is very, very thin. There was one right there, so we put a little bit of putty on top of that. But all things considered, I think it's a heady amount of work to get done today. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend, and battle is continuing. I am trying to put a magnet or a series of magnets on the back hatch here. I'm not going to try to make that openable. I mean, openable, but not hinged on a ramp, because you know this is not the bells and whistle kit. So basically, what I need to do here is set up a series of magnets so that I can remove the back hatch to get in to change the batteries, however rarely that will happen. And what I'm going to do is drill holes in this so that I can mount the switches to the back, and they'll just flip on from the back of the hatch. And you can say, well, that's going to ruin the look, and I'm going to say, again, this shuttle is going to be only one in a series, so I'm not that wildly concerned about what the outside looks like. It may not even be all that accurate. Like I said, it is the best kit so far, but certainly I'm sure there will be inaccuracies with it. Now, I did take a hot minute this morning to cover these back over. These were the indents that were baked into the kit, and I'm sure because I see indents on the inside of these struts, that's probably a design feature. Well, it was also a wonderful feature to run wiring, so I just covered those over with some strip styrene just to protect that wiring. And like I say, right now I am putting the hatch in. And once I've gotten the hatch nice and attached and mounted and magnetized and all that, then I will come back and I will drill out for these two switches, and then we will be ready to paint. Start painting at least. I don't know, this being Thursday, I don't expect to get the whole thing done this week, but you know, we could. But the windows that I put in yesterday are still, oddly enough, they are still attached. I just saw a weakness here. Dang it. I thought I had stuck those in pretty good. They're not attractive, and they're coming out. Why is that happening? Thought I had glued those in pretty good. And there's no way to get in and around them. Well, these doors are not glued in yet. And that might be a good saving reason to never glue those doors in. Because if I need to get into this thing, it's never going to happen once these doors are glued in. Okay, this is why it's, you know, building a ship in a bottle would be child's play compared to this. Okay. You can see how my morning's going. How's yours? Well, this was where we were inevitably destined to end up. We've got a 3D printed object, and we've got a metallic finish, and you can sand, you can prime, you can do all of that kind of stuff, but you're still going to end up seeing the print lines, the layer lines on this when you are working with a 3D printed object. They're just not that smooth yet. And I put several coats of primer over this. I sanded between each one. And it does give me kind of a nice stainless steel look to it, the finish, but it does also point out the obviousness of it being 3D printed. So I don't think round two has got to lose any sleepless nights about this. Clearly the styrene version is going to be much superior. But I wanted to see how it was going to look. I wanted to see how bad it was going to be, frankly. And it's living up to my dreams. So, oh, this is, by the way, this is how I did I did end up putting a piece of tape to pivot or to hinge the bottom of this doorway. But this is basically how I am running my switches. So there you see the running lights. This is starting to get a little bit of light block to them as I am starting to paint over them. The shapes are a little bit better defined. I think the fate of these doors is that I am going to leave them openable, because I do need to get in there to at least change the batteries out, and having that as an access is going to be the way to go. But I think I'm going to want to put a block behind there to keep the door from being pushed all the way in. That's not happy. It's too easy to sink that the rest of the way in. So if I can put a block behind that, that's what I'm going to do, at least on one side. Yeah, I want to make sure that these windows are staying in nice and secure. But I wanted to see how it was going to look. So I'm going to be copying the classic original series shuttle paint scheme, in as much as I'm going to be doing the top from this angle up is going to be done in a lighter color of gray, maybe a grayish silver, and this is going to be done the darker silver. Taking a bit of a departure. I've gone off on my artistic license, and I haven't had it revoked yet. I've just taken a little bit of off-white to the top half of this, and some Mecha light gray to the bottom half of this. And what I'm doing is I'm going to use those as underpinning colors, and then I'll do a light metallic coat over the top of the whole thing. What this is doing, hopefully, is it's kicking back a lot of the build lines that were coming through the metallic finish. And I still have an ugliness here to take care of. But what that does is it is mitigating a lot of the layer lining that I was seeing. And I'm hoping that if I can build a nice thick coat of this color up, and maybe do a light sanding on top of that, when I do the misting of the metallic over top of that, it will mitigate a lot of those build lines. That's basically the only reason I'm doing this. Plus, I want to add some of the traditional colors back on this. So we're getting ready. As soon as this dries, we're going to flip it over and do that light gray again on the bottom. But I need to let this dry and then do a nice light sanding pass on it, and another quick coat of paint to take care of that. But I'm liking that a lot better. Okay, I'm having lots of fun going off the reservation. Stone me if you must, but I am adding some more colors to this shuttle. I've gone with this pale bluish gray, and of course this is all going to get weathered down tomorrow. This is only Thursday, by the way. I've got one more day on work on this, but I like how this is all shaping up. And of course this central bit is going to stay the metallic, or the aluminum. I'm going to dust this with a metallic, but I like how I've created this third color here that is going to give me the two-tone / three-tone effect by the time you see how it relates to the top. And then we're going to do all the aging and weathering tomorrow. But I'm digging this for what it is for right now. Peel some of this off so that I can touch this up, and then that will allow me to do all the weathering and the striping and the numbering tomorrow, and then we'll be finished. But yeah, I'm liking that, and it's I actually kind of like it at that angle, but it is taking care of a lot of the really annoying printing lines. Okay, here you can see now the two-tone that's going on here, and then there's the third tone, which is the lighter on the top. So we're gonna let that dry and come back to it tomorrow. And folks, it's Friday. It's the last work day of the week, and we're coming down to the wire on this Shuttlecraft. Although it may not look it from what you see in front of you, I had an itch I needed to scratch, and that is I'm thinking of reworking, not reworking completely, but doing something additional to these front main windows. Not going to do it to the door windows or these sides, but these three main ones I think I could stand to do a better job with. And what I'm going to do, what I've already done, is cut some PETG to match. And I got to tell you, it is a lot easier to go from the inside and do an oversized piece of plastic and glue it to the frame on the inside than it is to try to cut something clear and make it match the outside frame. But what I'm going to do is take some car window tinting and tint these back and pop them into these frames, and maybe tack them in with a little bit of canopy glue or something to see if I can just dress up those openings a little bit. As far as painting goes, we are coming down pretty much where I want to be, although I don't like this Vallejo paint. It is not very resilient. It has a tendency to rub off on the high spots, which is not, it can be bad. These spots right here where the paint would naturally flake, I'm going to do some weathering on anyway, but it just doesn't hold up as much as, or as easily or as well as the Tamiya paints do. I've painted these all white. Now I need to mask them and spray the framework around them, which means I needed to trace off a few so that I can make some vinyl templates for that. That's going to be the easiest way to do that repeated shape, is just to cut a bunch of them. But after that, we are down to putting the markings on, and then a general weathering on everything after that. I'm happy I've let it sit overnight. I'm happy with the bluish gray on the bottom half of the shuttle, if you want to think of it, and then the very bottom is the steel or the aluminum, the dark aluminum. Actually, it's got a bit of gunmetal in there too, and I've painted in the landing pads. But after we get the markings on, then it's going to be a question of weathering. You would say, okay, this is what it looked like when it came off of the factory floor at the Federation, and then things happen to it that age it. I think the subtitle of this whole build is going to be called Strange New Worlds Shuttle, Those Damn Doors. And we're going to call it Those Damn Doors because I have had the devil's old time trying to get them to fit and stay. They are such weird angles. They are such weird compound angles to get them to fit. I've had to reinforce the inside, give them a little lip for them to fit up against, because you either can't get them to fit in at all or they push straight through, and it's very, very frustrating. And I was having a hard time getting this plane to match, particularly this point, and I realized it was because the frickin' piece was warped. The shell there was warped. The 3D print there. When you put a flat plane up against it, it was sticking in. It was not coming out and matching the rest of the whole plane. So I had to take the handy heat gun Handy heat gun does wonders. Cordless heat gun, it still gets plenty hot, so don't touch this end, but you can get it into areas and you don't have to worry about plugging it in like a regular heat gun, and you can move it out of the way when you're done and you're not hung up by a short cord. Anyway, heated this area up, pulled that corner out, and then quickly washed the inside and the outside with a paintbrush full of cold water to set it in place. And now the door does fit. I was originally planning on gluing those in and then decided no, it's best to leave them removable so that I can get to the batteries. And I'm regretting that decision. I probably should have just glued them in. But again, because I can't take the top of this thing off, I couldn't plan a better way to hide the batteries. I would have made a hatch out of the back of this somehow. I've got a hatch for the battery, for the switches, but I would have made something to carry a little battery carrier. As it is, I can slide them in through the front doors. Actually, I could before I put those little, see, I can't even do that anymore. Before I put those little stanchions in. Well, nerds, I can't fit these batteries in anymore, so I'm going to have to go through the back door. So I may, it looks like I may as well glue these doors in. Who knows? I took a break from this less than smooth sailing shuttlecraft to see what was in the mail today, and I always pleasantly surprised when something comes in the mail for me, particularly something that I haven't ordered. But I have to say, Randy, this goes out to you. Look what I got in the mail today. This is a care package from Randy Hicks of nothing but black paint. Tamiya black paint. And there is regular black. There is flat black. Thank the maker. There is semi-gloss black. Another semi-gloss black. Another flat. And another big black. I didn't even know they still made these big jars of Tamiya paint. Randy, you have turned this into a Black Friday after all. And yes, I just emailed you those exact words, which is why they're still on my mind. But thank you, sir. They will come in handy in ways you don't even know yet how handy that's going to come in. But that gets me back to lifting my spirits a bit, because this thing is fighting me tooth and nail, and I am trying to get this door to fit in, and I think I am desperately avoiding it, but I think I am making myself happy with the idea that I am just going to glue these doors in and count them as done. I pulled the batteries out. I was able to reinsert them from the back. It's not the favorite way to go. I do want to, in the back of my head, keep an escape hatch ready so that I could, if any of these windows ever got poked in, I could reattach them from the inside. But I don't see any way around it. I think I'm just going to have to glue these doors down. So that's what I'm making myself ready to do, and then we will paint the rest of the detailing on and be done with it. And be done with it is the operative term. Okay, so I've glued the passenger door in, what I'm calling the passenger door. Here in the States, this would be the passenger door. In the old country, this would be the driver's side. But I'm just putting a bit of the old tulip in there to light block that seam. The obviousness of the door will still remain, but I do want to close up some of that gap. Yeah, we're going to let that sit in there and seal up. This one we're going to leave. We're going to leave that one accessible, just in case. But yeah, let's get out some red paint and do something fun. I won't say I've had it. This almost went sailing. There was a time when this came very close to going sailing out the studio window, and it was because of my fat old thumbled fingers getting a big old glue blob right in here. So we're going to see if there is some way to pull this out of the fire. Okay, we're in the 2 steps back category. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and I am repainting the top, adding another coat. This time I'm going to be using Tamiya's, since they're giving me better results than these Vallejo paints. They just don't stand up to the wear and tear. So I'm mixing flat aluminum, some white, and and maybe just a touch of sky gray to warm it up a little bit. But that's going to be our mixture for the top half. Sort of like what was the classic Galileo coloring. Okay, so I've got the top half of the shuttle painted with markings. I have not taken the masks off, obviously, but I've got the Enterprise on the front. I know this stuff isn't canon, kids. I know. Save your comments. It is my shuttle the way I want to do it. And like I said many times, and I won't stop repeating it. When the actual kit comes out, we'll all have better information. But for right now, this is what I've chose to do. So we've got, as I've said, we've got the top repainted, we've got the top markings in. And once this has been taken care of, then I can go to the bottom and put the stripe, since that's where they moved the stripe to, really. I would be very tempted to put the stripe just on the angle here where it changes planes, where it goes from here to there. I would be very tempted to put the stripe going the whole way down the length of that, but that's not how it's designed. It's designed with the stripe on the bottom section. So that much we do know. Go ahead and take these masks off and see how it looks. Oh, that's pretty. That is pretty. Now I still have the insides of the letterings to get to. Let's go ahead and get the number off. Now, yes, I made this 7 just like it always has been, but I went to the naming convention, or the numbering convention of Next Gen and whatnot, where they put like 05. If it was Shuttle 6, it was 06. That's where I've decided to go 07 on these. That's very clean. That does make it look a lot better. That looks nice. Get in here with my spectacles on so I can see. Now, it is entirely possible that these little indents up front here are meant to be even more like green and red nav lights, but because of how they're positioned and there's no room behind them, I did not choose to light those because I would not have been able to run a bulb and the wiring behind those. There. Very nice. Now we need to take this one off of the front. Neat. We pull out the insides of the lettering. And that's something that a lot of people don't recognize. When they say, Lou, how come you don't make registry names below a certain size? And it's like, well, it's not that I can't do the height of the letter. It's all of these little shapes, like the inside of the R, or the inside of an A, things like that, that determine whether or not I can do a font at a particular size. There you go. Okay, so next step is to stand this up like this. Take this piece of tape off. Now you can see hopefully the color differentiation, the color differentiation between those two. And we'll put down the red stripe template and get that painted. Alrighty, the left side red stripe is in. Now this is not nearly as easy as it looks. Certainly easier to do if it were not for this nacelle in the way, and perhaps if it were further up on the shuttle, but we take it where it lies. Now all I gotta do is mask off the other side and paint it. Okay, so what we have here is a non-finished shuttlecraft. The various painting setbacks today pushed me back to the point where I was not able to get this thing weathered. But I've got all the painting done now. I'm still pulling masks off of these windows that I will probably end up having to put back on to paint, but it does look a lot better now to have them showing with the windows as they should be. This door is not glued in, so I can still get into it. That's why you see the light leaks around it. But that's it. That's the Strange New Worlds Galileo minus, I got the masks off the back here, minus the weathering, which is what we'll do next week. But I got everything in, got the lights all. Although that's a good amount of work for 1 week, but not finished like I'd hoped. Well, what do you know, kids? That's going to be where we've closed it off for the first week on the Strange New Worlds shuttle. Again, I'll harp over the points that I could have harped on many times this week. Just because you can print a whole ship in one piece does not mean you should print a whole shuttle in one piece. This could have benefited severely by being broken down into more parts. More parts makes it easier to access. This whole thing was like building a ship in a bottle, because I was trying to subfit wiring and lighting into the inside using only the smallest of entries. Made it a whole lot more difficult than it needed to be. Please, I know this is not the finished product. I'm going to be weathering this next week and finishing it up. But even when this is a actual product from round 2, I know that they will correct many of the thing that is wrong with this. Not wrong so much as maybe ill-informed. This is, like I say, the best, for all of its faults, it is the best Strange New Worlds shuttlecraft model available today, because right now it's about the only one available. And while I might have done it a lot differently than the gentleman who printed this, same could be said on many other things. So, until next time, when we'll be back to this and weathering it and adding some finishing touches, y'all be good, be safe, be smart, and be back next time to see if I can, to see who wins in this struggle, me or the shuttle. I have a feeling it's going to be a close tie.